This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FI Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business and politics that impact you, the viewer. Today our guest is Dr. Ghandi, the Chief Financial Officer for the District of Columbia. He manages the district's financial operations. He will be discussing the topics of District of Columbia's financial operations and district's economy. Before I talk to Dr. Ghandi, I want to shake his hand because he's a source of inspirations to all of us, a source of strength and courage to our community, to our country, to our nation. Tell me a little bit about yourself, your personal journey from India to America. It has been a remarkable success story. Tell me a little bit about yourself and what kind of things you're involved in terms of art and in terms of music and in terms of the culture. Both of us share a common destiny, a common history, and a common heritage. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
And that is indeed true. My story is a story of an immigrant in this country. And, like many of us, I had come here to study and found it too good to leave. This country, this society, people have been generous and I basically decided to make my life here. And that is indeed the story of immigrants in this country, that this country gives them an opportunity to remake their lives.
So this is a part of American dream.
Absolutely right. And
reaffirms the notion that anything can happen in America.
That is indeed true.
That America is a land of opportunity.
And to supplement that point that you make, Mr. Islam, imagine this. I'm a first-generation Asian immigrant with accent, and still Chief Financial Officer of the nation's capital.
Because you're smart, because you do hard work, you're able to pursue your dream because you aim high and work hard. And that's what this country is all about.
And let us not forget that it is also because in this country, it matters what you do, how good you are, what you do, not at who you are.
Regardless of your color, creed.
And indeed, it is indeed a land of opportunity. It's generosity that opens its hearts, opens its door, and welcomes people from all around the world of various tribes, various color, various talents, and gives them opportunity to remake their life. And that's what exactly
That's what makes this country so great.
It is right.
Well, let me get to some of the questions that I'm sure our audience is very interested. Are you seeing the effects of the recession in the finances of the district?
Yes, I do. I just want to point out that because of the recession, which has been the deepest and the widest since the Great Depression, I would call it the Great Recession, that we have been experiencing over the last 2 years, we have basically removed from our revenues, that is, we're going to collect less revenue, about $600 million in 2009, about $1 billion in 2010, $1 billion in 2011, and $1 billion in 2012. It's a substantial decline in our revenues, though nowhere near what you have seen in California, in New York, in Florida, in Arizona, other places. But all I want to assure you that because of the leadership of the mayor and the council, despite the losses in revenues, we will balance our budget.
Which is a great thing to do, considering you just mentioned about California, which is pretty much broke.
It is right.
What has the district done so far to close budget gap?
What we have done is, fundamentally, we have not raised any major taxes, income taxes, real property taxes.
Do you spend less now?
Oh, exactly right. So what we have basically done is that we are spending less, and also we have been using some of the savings that we have generated over the last several years. Please remember that mid-90s, when city was near bankruptcy, we had about $500 million deficit in our fund balance, meaning that we have negative savings of $500 million. In 2005, we achieved about $1.5 billion in our fund balance. So a journey of $500 million deficit to $1.5 billion surplus in our fund balance. So $2 billion turnaround. Other cities such as New York, Philadelphia, that have gone through this so-called financial hardship, control board experiences, none has been able to come back as well and as fast as the district has. And that is because of the fiscal prudence and the financially responsible budgeting of our elected leadership.
So what are the bigger challenges to the district generating enough revenue to meet its obligations now that you balance the budget? You talked about it. You have reduced some of the spending that you talked about it. So the next question is, how do you go about doing the questions that I just asked?
Well, the question is, how do you manage under the times of the financial adversity? But there is also what is known as a structural imbalance in the district, meaning that in larger sense, district's tax base is very limited, very constrained, and narrow because of the commuters not paying city's taxes, though still using city services. Federal government, we are very proud to have them in our nation's midst, in our nation's capital, right in our midst, still does not pay our taxes. Biggest employer in the city doesn't pay our taxes. Not only that, 12 of the largest of the 15 employers in the cities do not pay city's taxes. Hospitals, universities.
Those are tax exempt?
Those are tax exempt. Embassies, World Bank, IMF, they do not pay our taxes. So, despite having a very limited tax base, it is the fiscal prudence what really guides our financial behavior. But ultimately, Congress would have to do something about this narrow tax base that we currently face.
So you have a lot of constraints.
We do. We do.
And yet, you're doing a good job.
We are doing a very good job because of the commitment that our elected leadership, mayor and the council, have toward fiscal prudence, balanced budget.
You talked about budget imbalance about a minute ago. How have you opted to borrow your way out of budget imbalance?
Right, and we do not use the borrowing to take care of our deficits. In other words, like many jurisdictions, they borrow money to balance the budget. We do not do that. We borrow money for long-term capital investment, roads, bridges, technology, schools, recreation centers. For that, we borrow money externally, about $500 million a year. But we basically try to limit our spending to the extent that we can generate our revenues. It is the responsibility of the chief financial officer to certify that the budget that the mayor submits to the council is balanced, that together we submit to the Congress is also balanced, and making sure that during the year we do not spend more money than what is appropriated by the council, just to assure that we produce a balanced budget at the end of the year.
So what advice would you give to other cities and states to achieve the degree of fiscal stability the district has enjoyed?
Well, it's far from me to advise others, but I think the example that we have set of fiscal prudence, that is, when the question comes of overspending, you control them. When the question comes of lack in revenues, you make sure that you collect appropriate amount of revenues aggressively, nevertheless equitably, and alert the mayor and the council that, look, we have a problem here. Every quarter we produce our revenue estimates, and if there is substantial decline in the revenues, we adjust our budget accordingly. For example, after 9/11, as you know, markets were closed, and we lost about $323 million.
How much?
$323 million.
That's a lot of money.
A lot of money, and we had to balance our budget. And we immediately changed our budget we reduce our expenditure and balance the budget.
So the people complain about you reduce the spending, and so are we talking about the protection, the police, the other facilities that people have enjoyed for a long time? And how do you go about convincing that we're on the right path?
Well, I think at the end of the day, when they look at our financial stability, look at a stream of very responsible budgeting, you see a balanced budget for last 12 years, and the 13th is on the way. When you look at the record, they think at the end of the day we are doing fine. But if the budget is cut, if the chief financial officer tells you that there isn't much revenue coming in, they do not like to hear that. And unfortunately, my role in the city is of saying no. So I'm often called Dr. No.
That's your trade name?
Yes.
Dr. No.
Dr. No.
So anything that comes to your desk, no.
No.
That's not the case.
What I would to say is that when anything comes onto my desk, we look at this and does it make any sense? Does it make any financial sense? Does it make any economic sense? And then you try to explain how this can be done in a better way.
So at the beginning of the show, we started out with talking about a little bit of Dr. Gandhi's personal journey to America. As I understand, you recite poet and poetry, as I understand, and you write poetries. And tell me a little bit about your poetries. And this, to me, is fascinating. This is your part-time job, obviously.
Well, it's the way I relax.
Also, that's a way of relaxing your heart, and that gives you peace.
I think it's a great way to basically
soothe your soul.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And look back on life. And I published 2 volumes of poetry. The first one called America, America. These are the a reflection of an immigrant. The theme that we talked earlier.
And that's in poetry form.
In poetry form, sonnets. Sonnet is an old, way of putting together thoughts. Started it in England and Italy, and Shakespeare had written some of the great sonnets.
Several hundred years ago.
That is right. And it's also imported in India in our own languages.
Long years ago.
1897 is when the first sonnet was written. It's 14 lines, so you really have to contain yourself in only 14 lines, and I write in meters, highly disciplined Sanskrit meters. So it's a disciplined form of writing and expressing yourself. So the first volume was about a reflection of an immigrant on this country called America, America, and the second volume on when an NRI goes back to India.
NRIs, non-resident Indians.
That is right. A person like you and me.
Right.
What do we think of India now? We view India with a different eye now, and that is called India, India.
Do you believe that India's future is as bright as a lot of people think they are? Does the future belong to them?
Absolutely right. The India that I left mid-60s and the India that I see today are 2 different Indias. India today is more confident, more vibrant, more young, energetic, full of life. And I think it is evident in the streets, not only of big cities, but also in the small towns and villages. It is evident in the confidence and enthusiasm that you see in people's lives. And slowly but steadily, we are improving our lot.
The thing that bothers me most about India, I went there about 2 years ago, is the poverty that shatters the dream,
right.
The aspirations of our people, our young people. Education is a key ingredient of success and upward mobility. And I know you will share with me that India has done a great job in education, and Mr. Pandit Nehru has done a wonderful, wonderful job. He planted the seed for all of us to see that we can harvest that prosperity and the education that we have today is because of our first Prime Minister, Mr. Nehru. Tell me a little bit about your education in India. your primary schools and your secondary school, college, and I know you came here for graduate schools or for undergraduate school as well.
Right. Well, I think you give credit to Pandit Nehru just right. I think without him...
He was a visionary.
A visionary, no doubt about that. But what we still need to do is to concentrate on elementary education, secondary education.
Right from the bottom.
Right from the bottom. And we have not done as admirable job as we should have done that. Other thing we really need to do is to basically make substantial investment in infrastructure, the roads, bridges, technology.
That's obviously lacking in India.
When you really see China has made enormous investment in its infrastructure. And because they built all those roads and transportation systems, that roughly 300 million people have moved out of villages to the urban centers from poverty to relative prosperity. That is the biggest movement of people from poverty in the history in such a short time period. Obviously created problems in the cities, no doubt about that, but their lives are still better than what they used to be in rural China. That is because China wisely decided to put money in infrastructure, and it's going to pay them back enormously well. Imagine, 100 years ago, we transformed this country through intercontinental railroads.
Yes.
50 years ago, we transformed this country through interstate road system.
Correct.
That transformed the economic geography of this country. We need to have a similar transformation in terms of Indian economic development. Now, whenever they don't have to depend upon the physical infrastructure, as in case of high-tech, the web industries, web-based industry, India is doing extraordinarily well.
No question.
So I think that has to be an emphasis. And I think, the Prime Minister, Mr. Singh, is absolutely a first-rate economist. He actually liberalized, as we all know, and they all understand what we need to do now. The question is to get things done.
The question is also how long it will take.
Well, obviously, in a democracy, when you respect people's rights to property,
there has to be consensus in the democracy.
And obviously, we cannot move as fast as the Chinese can.
Well, I'd rather live in a democracy.
Well, again, without going into the virtues of one system over the other system, all I'm suggesting here is that it takes time in India. We all know that. But I think we are on the right path.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Ghandi. Thank you for coming to our show. That is our show. Until next time, this is Frank Eslam of FY Investment Group wishing you a great week. Thank you for watching.